Don't drink that. The voice cut through the bass-heavy music like a blade through silk, quiet, urgent, trembling. Damien Hale's hand froze, the glass of amber liquid suspended 6 inches from his lips. The ice clinked softly against crystal. Around him, the bar pulsed with Friday night energy. Laughter, conversation, the clink of glasses celebrating the weekend's arrival. He didn't turn, not yet. I said don't drink it, firmer now but still barely above a whisper. This time he looked. She stood behind the bar, 3 feet away, gripping the edge of the polished wood so hard her knuckles had gone white. Mid-20s, dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, eyes that looked too old for her face. No makeup, simple black shirt with the bar's logo, a bartender. And she was shaking. "Excuse me." His voice was cool, controlled. The voice of a man who'd learned early that emotion was a liability. "Someone switched your drink." She glanced past him toward the crowded bar, then back. "When you went to the restroom, a man in a gray suit, she stopped, swallowed hard. "Please, if you don't trust me, at least smell it, really smell it." Damien's jaw tightened. He'd come to the Violet Hour specifically because no one knew him here. Because he could sit in the corner booth under the name David Harris and meet his former business partner without photographers or speculation, or the suffocating weight of being Damien Hale, tech billionaire asterisk. And now this. He lifted the glass slowly, brought it to his nose. The bartender was right. Beneath the smoky notes of expensive whiskey, something else. Chemical, wrong. His blood went cold. "Who are you?" he asked quietly, setting the glass down with deliberate care. "Maya, I work here, Thursday through Sunday night shift." She was still trembling, but her eyes never left his. "I saw him do it. I should have said something sooner. I didn't know if you'd believe me, if you'd think I was crazy or trying to scam you or—" "Maya," he said her name like a command, and she stopped. "Why help me?" The question seemed to catch her off guard. She blinked, mouth opening and closing once before the words came. "Because I know what it looks like when someone expects the worst to happen," she said softly. "And you looked like someone who'd stopped being surprised by it." Something in Damien's chest constricted. He pulled out his phone, typed a quick message to his security team stationed outside. 3 minutes. They'd handle it quietly. No scene, no attention. Then he looked back at Maya. "Thank you," he said, and meant it. She nodded, already backing away. There are other customers." "Wait." She stopped. "What were you drinking before you noticed?" Maya glanced at the half-empty glass of water near the register. "Nothing. I don't drink. Not even after preventing a poisoning." The corner of her mouth twitched, almost a smile, especially not then. Damien should have left. His security team arrived within minutes, 2 discreet men in dark suits who'd been trailing him since he left his penthouse. They took the glass. They pulled security footage. They asked Maya a few quiet questions while Damien watched from the booth, nodding the way she answered precisely, without embellishment, like someone who'd learned that extra words only caused problems. His former business partner never showed. Smart. Someone had tipped him off, or the person who'd switched the drink had been working for him all along. Either way, the meeting was over. Damien should have gone home. Instead, he stayed. "You're still here." Maya appeared beside his booth an hour later, wiping her hands on a bar towel. The shaking had stopped, but wariness lingered in her eyes. "I am. Why? Why did you warn me?" She hesitated, then slid into the booth across from him, uninvited but not unwelcome. Up close, he could see the faint scar along her jaw, the shadows under her eyes that spoke of too many sleepless nights. "I told you, I recognized." "The look," Damien finished, "of someone who expects the worst. You said that, but you didn't answer the question. Why risk getting involved? For all you knew, I could have been dangerous." Maya's laugh was hollow. "Everyone's dangerous. The question is whether they're dangerous asterisk to you specifically. And I was. No, she said it with certainty. You were just tired and alone and trying very hard to pretend you weren't both. Before we continue, can I ask you a question? Where in the world are you watching from? Comment below because we'd love to know how far these stories travel, and hit that subscribe button. The observation landed like a punch to the sternum. Damien leaned back, studying her. You read people for a living. I pour drinks for a living. Reading people is just survival. Survival, he repeated. That's an interesting word choice. Is it? It implies threat, danger. Most bartenders would say customer service. Maya's expression shuddered. Most bartenders haven't had my life. There it was. The wall. The same wall he'd built around himself after Vanessa, after the betrayal that had taught him that vulnerability was just another word for weakness. Fair enough, Damien said. He should let it go, should thank her again and leave. But something about the way she sat there, guarded but present, wary but honest, made him want to stay. Can I buy you dinner, as a thank you? I'm working. After your shift then. I don't accept thank yous from customers. Why not? Because they always want something more than gratitude. Damien absorbed that. What if I promise I do? Maya met his eyes. Men who make promises are the most dangerous kind. There was a story there, a deep one, the kind that left scars you couldn't see. Then no promises, Damien said quietly. Just coffee or tea or another glass of water, whatever you drink when you're not preventing murders. Attempted murders, she corrected. We don't know what was in the glass. Semantics. Details matter. They do, he agreed. Which is why I'd like to know more about the woman who noticed details everyone else missed. Maya studied him for a long moment. The bar noise swirled around them, laughter, music, the clink of glasses, but in their booth, silence stretched taut. 1 hour, she finally said. After closing, and only because I'm too curious about why a man who can afford $200 whiskey comes to a place like this alone. Damien smiled. Deal. The violet hour closed at 2 a.m. Maya emerged from the back at 2:17, having changed from her work shirt into a simple gray sweater and jeans. Her hair was down now, falling past her shoulders in dark waves. She looked younger and more exhausted. Damien stood from the booth he'd been waiting in. There's an all-night diner 3 blocks. Not there, Maya said quickly. Too bright, too many people. She hesitated. There's a park nearby, it'll be quiet. A park at 2 a.m. with a stranger. Most women wouldn't suggest it. Lead the way, Damien said. The park was small, barely more than a square of grass with a few benches and a fountain that had been turned off for the season. Streetlights cast everything in amber, and the city noise felt distant here, muted. They sat on a bench, careful space between them. So Maya said, David Harris. Damien's spine stiffened. What about him? That's the name you gave when you ordered. But the man in the gray suit, the one who switched your drink, he called you something else when he thought you weren't listening. Shit. What did he call me? Damien asked carefully. Damien. She turned to look at him. As in Damien Hale, the tech guy. The one who sold his company for $3 billion and then disappeared from public life. I didn't disappear, I just stopped performing. For who? Everyone. The word came out harsher than intended. Investors, media, people who wanted pieces of me until there was nothing left to give. Maya was quiet for a moment. Is that why you come to the violet hour, to be David instead of Damien? Yes. Does it work? It did until tonight. I won't tell anyone, Maya said, if that's what you're worried about. Why not? You could sell that information, photos, story. Billionaire hides in dive bar. It would pay well. I don't want your money. Everyone wants money. Not everyone. Her voice was sharp now. Some of us have learned that money doesn't buy the things that actually matter. Damien turned to face her fully. And what matters to you, Maya? Not being owned, she said immediately. Not being trapped. Not being someone's project or possession or second chance. There was venom in those words, and pain. Who tried to own you? Damien asked quietly. Maya looked away. That's not first conversation material. What is? I don't know, the weather, favorite movies, normal things. We're sitting in a park at 2:30 in the morning after you prevented my poisoning. I don't think normal applies anymore. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. Fair point. She pulled her knees up to her chest, wrapping her arms around them. Okay, you first then. Why did you really come to the bar tonight? Damien considered lying, deflecting, but something about her directness demanded honesty in return. I was meeting someone, a former business partner. He'd reached out, said he had information about who'd leaked our acquisition terms 3 years ago. The leak that cost me $200 million and a relationship I thought mattered. And you believed him. I wanted to. That's different than actually believing. Yes, Damien admitted, it is. Maya was quiet for a moment. The woman, the relationship that mattered, was she involved in the leak? She orchestrated it. The words tasted like ash. Vanessa, my fiancée, or who I thought was my fiancée. Turned out she'd been working with my partner the whole time. They leaked the terms to a competitor, tanked the acquisition, then disappeared with enough insider information to start their own company. That's Maya stopped. I'm sorry. Don't be, I was naive. I thought being vulnerable made me trustworthy, that loving someone meant they'd love me back with the same integrity. Damien laughed bitterly. I learned. What did you learn? That protection matters more than connection. That isolation is safer than intimacy. That people who seem to care usually just want access. Maya flinched. That's a lonely way to live. It's a safe way to live. Those aren't the same thing. No, Damien agreed, but loneliness does betray you. They sat in silence, the weight of shared cynicism settling between them. My ex-husband used to say I was too broken to love properly, Maya said suddenly, voice barely above a whisper. That I was damaged goods, a charity case, that he was doing me a favor by staying. Damien's hands clenched into fists. He was wrong. Was he? She turned to look at him, eyes glittering with unshed tears. Because I believed him. For 3 years I believed that being chosen by someone, anyone, meant I should be grateful. Even when he controlled who I saw. Even when he told me I was too sensitive, too anxious, too much and not enough all at once. I stayed. Because I thought that's what broken people deserved. You're not broken. You don't know me. I know you saved a stranger's life tonight without expecting anything in return. I know you're working the night shift at a bar where most people treat you as invisible. I know you suggested meeting in a park at 2 a.m. because enclosed spaces with strangers probably trigger something you don't want to explain. Damien's voice softened. And I know that someone who's survived enough to recognize danger before it happens isn't broken. They're resilient. A tear slipped down Maya's cheek. She wiped it away quickly, angry at herself. I don't cry. Why not? Because tears were weakness in my marriage. Ammunition. Proof that I was too emotional to think clearly. He's not here now. I know, but the rules he taught me are, she stood abruptly. I should go. Maya. This was a mistake. I don't do this. Connection, honesty. It always ends badly. Damien stood too. What if it does? It will. How do you know? Because I'm not someone people stay for. The words burst out of her, raw and desperate. I'm a moment, Damien, a good story. The bartender who saved the billionaire. But moments end. And when they do, you'll go back to your penthouse and your empire and I'll still be here, pouring drinks, surviving, alone. The pain in her voice was so Visceral Damien felt it in his chest. "You think I see you as a moment?" he asked quietly. "Don't you?" "No," he stepped closer, careful not to crowd her. "I see you as someone who made a choice. You could have stayed silent tonight. Could have let whatever was in that glass do its work and told yourself it wasn't your problem, but you didn't. You risked your job, your safety, your anonymity to warn someone you didn't know." He paused. "That's not a moment, Maya, that's character, and character doesn't disappear when the story ends." She was crying openly now, shoulders shaking. "I don't know how to trust this." "Trust what?" "That you're real, that this is real, that you're not just," she gestured helplessly, "playing a role until you get bored." Damien felt something crack open inside him, because he understood. God, did he understand? "I'm not performing," he said softly. "I'm just here, talking to someone who sees me as human instead of a headline, someone who doesn't want anything from me except honesty." He held her gaze. "If that's a role, it's the first one I've played in 3 years that doesn't feel like suffocation." Maya searched his face, looking for the lie, the performance, the inevitable betrayal. She must not have found it because slowly, so slowly, her shoulders lowered. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. "Do what?" "Let someone in, without waiting for them to hurt me." "Then don't let me in," Damien said. "Not yet, just don't shut me out completely. Give me a chance to prove I'm not performing care, I'm choosing it." "Why me?" The question hung in the cold night air. Damien could have said something smooth, something rehearsed, something designed to charm. Instead, he told the truth. "Because you didn't treat me like I was special. You treated me like I was worth saving, and I haven't felt worth saving in a very long time." Maya agreed to see him again. Not a date, she'd been firm about that. Just coffee, during daylight, in a public place where she could leave if things felt wrong. They met at a small cafe 3 blocks from the Violet Hour. Maya arrived 10 minutes late, apologetic and tense. Damien had already ordered her a chamomile tea. "How did you know?" she asked, staring at the cup. "You said you don't drink, and when I asked what you drink when you're not preventing murders, you deflected, so I guessed tea, and chamomile seemed calming." Maya sat slowly. "That's disturbingly observant." "I pay attention to things that matter." "I'm not," she stopped. "We barely know each other." "Then tell me about yourself. Real things, not performance." So she did. Haltingly at first, then with increasing honesty, Maya told him about growing up in foster care, about the family that had almost adopted her before deciding she was too difficult, about meeting her ex-husband at 21 and thinking that being chosen, finally being chosen, meant she'd found home, about learning that home could become a prison. "He never hit me," she said quietly. "Not physically. But he made me disappear piece by piece until I didn't recognize myself anymore. And when I finally left, when I gathered enough courage to walk out, he told everyone I was unstable, that I'd had a breakdown, that he'd tried to help me but I was too broken." "And people believed him," Damien said. "Everyone believed him. He was charismatic, successful. Why would he lie?" Maya's hands tightened around her cup. "I lost my job, my apartment, most of my friends. I ended up here, new city, new name, new life. Working nights so I don't have to see too many people, existing instead of living." "Maya's not your real name." She looked up at him. "Does that matter?" "No," Damien said honestly. "We're all performing some version of ourselves. The question is whether the person underneath is real." "And you think I'm real?" "I think you're the most real person I've talked to in 3 years." They fell into a pattern. Not a relationship, Maya wouldn't call it that, but something. Coffee twice a week, late-night conversations in the park after her shifts, texts that started as check-ins and evolved into actual dialogue. Damien told her about the company he'd built from nothing, about the loneliness of being surrounded by people who wanted access, not connection, about Vanessa's betrayal, and how it had taught him that vulnerability was just another word for target practice. Maya told him about the foster homes, about her ex-husband's slow dismantling of her sense of self, about the panic attacks that still hit without warning when someone stood too close or spoke too sharply. They didn't touch. Not once in 3 weeks. Maya kept careful distance, and Damien respected it without question. "Why don't you push?" she asked one night, sitting on their usual park bench. It was late October now, cold enough that their breath formed clouds. "Push for what?" "More contact, intimacy, whatever this is supposed to become." Damien was quiet for a moment. "Because I remember what it felt like when Vanessa pushed, when she'd get upset that I needed time alone to think, when she'd guilt me for not being emotionally available enough, fast enough, in the exact way she wanted." He looked at Maya. "I don't want to be someone who takes from you. I want to be someone who makes space for you to exist as you are." Maya's throat tightened. "That's not, most people don't think like that. Most people are us." "Us," she repeated softly. "Is that what we are?" "I don't know. What do you want us to be?" The question terrified her, because she wanted things she'd convinced herself she wasn't allowed to want anymore. Safety, trust, someone who saw her scars and didn't flinch, someone who chose her not despite her damage but with full awareness of it. "I want to believe this is real," she whispered, "but I don't know how." "Then don't believe it yet, just don't disbelieve it completely." But reality had other plans. It started with a text from an unknown number. "I know who you're seeing, and I know who you really are." Maya stared at her phone, blood going cold. A second text arrived. "Sarah Mitchell, that's your real name, isn't it? The woman who accused her husband of emotional abuse before disappearing, the unstable one." Her hands started shaking. "Does your billionaire know he's dadding damaged goods? Or are you planning to trap him too?" She barely made it to the bathroom before throwing up. Damien found out the next evening when Maya didn't show up for their coffee. She didn't respond to texts, didn't answer calls. He went to the violet hour and found her working or trying to. Her hands shook as she poured drinks. Her eyes were red-rimmed. When she saw him, something in her face crumbled. "I can't do this," she said before he could speak. "I can't, you need to leave." "Maya." "That's not even my name." The words came out too loud. Other patrons turned to look. Maya's face flushed. "Please, just go." Damien stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Tell me what happened." Someone knows. Someone knows who I am, who you are, and they're—" She stopped, breathing hard. "They're going to destroy me. Again. And this time they'll destroy you too because you were stupid enough to get close to someone like me." "Someone like you," Damien repeated. "You mean someone brave enough to survive abuse and start over." "I mean someone toxic enough to ruin everything she touches." The words echoed in the sudden silence. The other bartender, a woman in her 40s, touched Maya's arm gently. "Take your break," she said quietly. "I've got the bar." Maya looked like she might argue, then just nodded numbly. They ended up in the storage room, small, cramped, smelling of liquor and cleaning supplies. Maya leaned against a shelf, arms wrapped around herself. "Show me," Damien said. "What?" "The messages, whatever made you panic." "Damien." "Show me." She pulled out her phone with trembling hands and passed it to him. Damien read in silence. His expression didn't change, but his jaw tightened with each message. There were 7 total, each one more threatening than the last. Details about Maya's past, about her ex-husband's version of events, about how she'd ruined his reputation with false accusations, and threats about what would happen if she didn't disappear from Damien's life. "You're a liability. Leave now, or I'll make sure everyone knows what you really are." Damien looked up. "This is from him, isn't it, your ex?" Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. "And you think I'll believe his version of events?" Everyone else did. I'm not everyone else. You should be, the words burst out of her desperate. You should protect yourself, your reputation, your company. I'm not worth the risk, Damien. I'm nobody. And he's right. I am damaged. I am difficult. I panic over nothing and I can't trust people and I'm so fucking broken that even trying to be normal feels like lying. Stop. The command in his voice made her freeze. Damien set the phone down carefully. When he spoke again, his voice was softer but no less firm. You're not broken, you're traumatized. There's a difference. That's just semantics. No, it's not. Broken implies irreparable, unfixable, worthless. Traumatized means you survived something that tried to destroy you and you're still here, still functioning, still capable of saving strangers in bars and building a new life and sitting with someone despite every instinct screaming to run. He paused. That's not broken, Maya. That's extraordinary. A sob caught in her throat. He's trying to control you again, Damien continued. That's what this is. Not truth. Control. He's using your fear against you because he knows you'll believe the worst version of yourself before you'll believe you deserve good things. I don't, she stopped, tears streaming now. I don't know how to fight this. Then let me. You can't. I can, and I will. Damien's voice was steel. But only if you want me to. Only if you're willing to stop running long enough to let someone stand with you instead of for you. Maya looked at him through blurred vision. Why would you do that? Because you matter to me. You barely know me. I know enough. He took a careful step closer. I know you're terrified of being seen and brave enough to show up anyway. I know you think you're too much and not enough all at once. I know you saved my life and then spent 3 weeks expecting me to leave because that's what people do. People do leave. Not me. The words were quiet but absolute. I don't perform staying, Maya. I don't perform caring. I'm either in or I'm out, and I'm choosing in. The declaration hung between them, too big and too honest. What if I can't be what you need? Maya whispered. What if you already are? The story broke 3 days later. Tech billionaire Damien Hale's secret romance with troubled bartender, asterisk. The article was vicious. It painted Maya as unstable, manipulative, a woman with a history of making false accusations who'd targeted a vulnerable billionaire. It included quotes from her ex-husband, photos of them together years ago, her looking young and fragile, speculation about her real motives. And it went viral. Maya called Damien at 6 a.m., voice shaking. I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. I didn't want this. I tried to protect you. Where are you? He interrupted. Home. I can't go outside. There are photographers, people leaving notes on my door. Someone threw something at my window last night. Pack a bag. I'm sending a car. Damien, no. You're not staying there. Pack essentials, 10 minutes. I can't just, this will make it worse. Maya, his voice softened, please let me help. She wanted to argue, to insist she could handle this alone the way she'd handled everything alone for 2 years. But she was so tired of surviving. Okay, she whispered. The penthouse was everything she'd expected and nothing she'd prepared for. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, minimalist furniture that probably cost more than she'd made in a year, art on the walls that looked museum quality. And Damien, standing in the middle of it all, looking at her like she wasn't an intrusion. Guest room is down the hall, he said quietly. Private bathroom, lock on the door. You can stay as long as you need. Maya set her bag down, hands trembling. This is a mistake. Why? Because now they'll say I'm using you, that I manipulated you into rescuing me, that this proves everything they've been saying. Let them say it. You don't understand. I do understand. Damien moved closer, still maintaining careful distance. I understand that your ex-husband is a narcissist who can't handle that you escaped. I understand that he's weaponizing your trauma and my visibility to punish you for leaving. And I understand that giving him what he wants, us separating, you disappearing, only proves that his tactics work. So what do? We tell the truth. Maya laughed a broken sound. The truth, Damien, the truth is complicated, messy. It doesn't fit in headlines. Then we make people listen to more than headlines. How? He pulled out his phone, open to a blank document. We write it together, your story, the real one, not the version he's selling. No one will believe me. They will if I'm standing next to you when you tell it. The offer was so enormous Maya couldn't breathe. You do that, she whispered. Risk your reputation, your privacy, everything. For you, Damien met her eyes. Yes. Why? Because you didn't ask me to. Because you're not performing victim or damsel or any role that would manipulate me into protecting you. You're just, he stopped, throat working. You're just being honest about being terrified. And I'd rather stand with someone who's terrified and real than someone who's safe and fake. Maya felt something inside her crack. The wall she'd built around her heart. The one that said she didn't deserve this. Didn't deserve someone who chose to stay when things got hard. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. How to let someone fight for me instead of just fighting alone. Then start small. Let me order dinner. Let me make sure you eat. Let me sit with you while you figure out what comes next. He paused. You don't have to trust me completely. Just trust me enough to not disappear. Maya looked at him, really looked, and saw not pity but recognition. Someone who understood what it meant to be betrayed, to rebuild, to be terrified of trying again. Okay, she said finally, I'll stay. They spent the next week crafting Maya's statement. Not a defense, she refused to defend herself against lies, but a truth, her truth. She wrote about the foster system, about meeting a man who seemed kind and learning too late that kindness could be a mask for control, about the slow erosion of self that happened when someone spent 3 years telling her she was too sensitive, too emotional, too broken. About leaving, about the courage it took to walk away from the only stability she'd ever known. About the smear campaign that followed, the unstable narrative, the loss of everything. About rebuilding, about working nights because days felt too exposed, about learning to trust her own instincts again. And about Damien, about a man who'd listened without trying to fix her, who made space instead of demands, who'd proven that being seen didn't have to mean being consumed. Damien read it when she finished, sitting beside her on the penthouse couch. When he looked up, his eyes were bright. This is, Maya, this is powerful. It's too much, too honest. It's exactly enough. He handed the laptop back. When do you want to publish it? I don't know if I do. Publishing means standing in the light, letting people look at me, judge me. It also means taking your narrative back, refusing to be defined by someone else's lies. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then, will you read it when I post it, so I'm not alone? I'll do more than that. Damien pulled out his own phone. I'll post my own statement about who you are to me, what I've witnessed, why I'm choosing to stand here. You don't have to. I want to. They published simultaneously. Maya's essay on Medium, Damien's statement on his rarely used social media. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Support poured in from unexpected places. Domestic violence advocates, trauma survivors, people who'd been smeared by ex-partners and understood exactly what Maya had endured. But so did vitriol, death threats, accusations, people who insisted she was lying, manipulating, playing victim. Maya read them all, each one a knife. Stop, Damien said gently, taking her phone. You don't have to witness every cruelty. But what if they're right? What if I am? You're not. He pulled her close, the first time he'd initiated physical contact. Maya stiffened, then slowly, tentatively leaned into him. "You're human. You survived. And you're allowed to take up space in the world without apologizing for it." Maya pressed her face against his shoulder and cried. Not from fear, from relief. From the overwhelming realization that someone believed her, chose her, stayed. 2 weeks later, they went back to the Violet Hour. Not in secret, not hiding. Damien walked in openly, Maya beside him. Cameras flashed outside, paparazzi who'd been tracking them since the statements went public. Inside, the bar went quiet. The other bartender, Carol, who'd covered for Maya that first night, smiled. "Welcome back." Maya's throat tightened. "I didn't know if I should." "You saved a customer's life," Carol interrupted. "And you've been the best coworker I've had in 10 years. The only person who should be uncomfortable here is the asshole who switched drinks." Applause rippled through the bar, small but genuine. Maya's eyes stung. They took their usual booth, ordered water for her, coffee for him, sat across from each other like they had dozens of times before. Except this time, Maya reached across the table. Damien looked down at her outstretched hand, then up at her face. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "Of this, of us, of what happens when the novelty wears off and you see all the ways I'm still healing." "Then be terrified," Damien said gently, taking her hand. "But be terrified here with me, instead of alone. What if I can't be what you need? What if we stop asking that question and just see what happens when two people choose each other without conditions?" Maya's breath caught. She'd spent so long believing she was too broken to be chosen. That love was conditional on being easy, uncomplicated, whole. But Damien wasn't asking for whole, he was asking for real. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. "Neither do I, but maybe we could figure it out together." Around them the bar hummed with Friday night energy. Music played, people laughed. The world continued, indifferent to their small moment of courage. But in their booth, Maya felt something shift. Not healing, healing wasn't linear. But hope, the fragile, terrifying hope that maybe she deserved this, that maybe being broken wasn't the same as being unworthy. "Okay," she said softly, "together." Damien's thumb brushed across her knuckles, gentle, reverent. "Together," he echoed. The bar was different now. Not the physical space. The Violet Hour still had the same dim lighting, the same worn booths, the same Friday night energy. But Maya was different. She stood behind the bar, pouring drinks with practiced ease. Her hair was down, a small smile playing at her lips as she chatted with regulars. No more armor, no more hiding. Because she'd learned something in the past 6 months. Visibility didn't have to mean vulnerability. Being seen didn't have to mean being consumed. And choosing someone didn't mean disappearing into them. Damien sat in their usual booth, laptop open but mostly ignored. He came every Friday now, not hiding under a fake name but openly. The owner had even put a small plaque on the booth, reserved. At midnight, Maya's shift ended. She slid into the booth across from him, accepting the chamomile tea he'd already ordered. "Long night?" he asked. "Good night," she corrected. "There's a difference." "There is." They sat in comfortable silence, the bar slowly emptying around them. "I got a call today," Maya said quietly. "From a women's shelter. They want me to speak about surviving emotional abuse, about rebuilding." Damien looked up, and I'm terrified, but I think I want to do it." "Then you should." "Just like that." "Just like that," he smiled. "You're not asking permission, Maya, you're sharing a decision. I'm just here to support it." Her throat tightened with emotion. Even now, 6 months in, the trust still felt fragile, but it was growing, slowly, steadily, like something planted in good soil. "I love you," she said suddenly. "I don't know if I've said that, but I do. I love you for seeing me, for staying, for making space instead of demands." Damien reached across the table, taking her hand. I love you too, he said simply. Not because you're healed, not because you're easy, but because you're real and you're brave. And you make me want to be real and brave too. We're a mess, Maya said, laughing through tears. We are, but we're a mess that chose each other. That's more than most people get. Later, walking back to the penthouse they now shared, Maya leaned against Damien's shoulder. The city glowed around them, lights and noise and endless movement. But here, in this small pocket of space, everything felt still. I used to think being broken meant being invisible, she said softly, that the only way to survive was to make myself smaller, quieter, less. And now I think being broken just means you're human, and being human means you deserve to take up space, to be loved, to choose and be chosen. She paused. You taught me that. You taught yourself. I just reminded you what you'd forgotten. They walked in silence for a moment. Then Maya stopped, turning to face him. Thank you, she said, for not saving me, for just being here while I saved myself. Damien cupped her face gently. Thank you for letting me stay. He kissed her, soft and unhurried. The kiss of two people who'd learned that love wasn't about completion or rescue or fixing broken pieces. It was about choosing to be present, to be honest, to be seen in all your complicated humanity and loved anyway. When they pulled apart, Maya rested her forehead against his. I'm still scared sometimes, she admitted. Me too. But less than before. Much less than before. They started walking again, hand in hand. Two people who'd been broken, and had decided that broken was just another way of being whole. The city stretched out before them, full of possibilities, challenges, moments of doubt and joy, and everything in between. But they would face it together. Not as savior and saved. Not as whole and broken. Just as two people who'd chosen to see each other clearly and love what they saw. And that, Maya thought as they climbed the steps to home, was more than enough. It was everything. Thank you so much for watching till the end. I truly appreciate you for spending your time here. It means a lot more than you know. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I really want to hear from you. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. Your support helps the channel grow and brings more stories like this your way. Thank you for being here. More amazing stories are coming, don't miss them.